How's it going, folks? Recording another best ball draft here. Checking out some Twitter news and whatnot. So, doing another Best Ball Mania 3. Got pick 11. Not too excited about that. Some players I have in mind that I'm trying to get more ownership on are like Lamar, Russ Wilson, Dobbins, who I don't have a single share of in Best Ball Mania 3. So, down where we are is a pretty reasonable spot to get Russ Wilson. Oh, Brady's another one. He's another one we could definitely end up with Mike Evans in this draft with where we're picking. But we'll see how it goes. I try not to make too many plans ahead of time, but I also try to keep, the players I'm looking for more ownership on fresh in my mind as I enter a draft. Derrick Henry going at pick 4. Very good for picks number 5 and 6, in my opinion. Get Jefferson or Chase. I actually do have a little bit of Derrick Henry in the Best Ball Mania, but I think only like 2 shares so far. I probably won't be looking to get a bunch more, but I don't mind Derrick Henry at the end of the first round. He's like fine. Obviously, if you're lucky and you like hit the him staying healthy, then he's pretty much a steal at the end of round 1. But at his weight and with the specific injury he had, it's a little hard to predict that he'll be healthy. But at the same time, like, he's a freak of nature, and if you see his workout videos from this summer, he looks like a beast. Might be looking at Najee or Devontae Adams here. I have like a ton of Devontae Adams. I have like so much at this point. Cool. I might go Kelsey and then hope one of the wide receivers drops back to me. I'm like getting up to where I have too much Adams. I'm like over 2 times the field. So I'm going to take Kelsey and hope one of Adams or CeeDee Lamb makes it back to me. I do actually have some Adams Kelsey teams. Most of them are at the turn, but like at the actual turn 12. But I don't mind getting a Kelsey share there. Nice. Joe Mixon goes, so that's good for my plan of hoping to get Kelsey with one of the 2 wide receivers. I don't really care much which one I get. I do think Adams is a significantly better pick than Lamb, so if they're both there, I'm going to just take Adams. And just live with having too much Adams. I would not take Evans over those guys. That's nice. So, ended up with the 2 players that I was kind of debating between at the 111. So that's nice to see. I mean, I still do have too much Adams, but what are you going to do? Some of my Adams is round 2. Like, I've even gotten some, a little bit later round 2 Adams than this, so I don't mind that at all. I still think Adams is a beast, and I think that he's definitely in consideration for, wide receiver 4 after Chase and Jefferson and Cup. So taking a look at things, keep in mind we might want some San Francisco guys. We might want some Denver guys. So this might be a good chance to try and grab a Russell Wilson share. I only have 5% Russell Wilson this tournament. That kind of bothers me. I have the same amount of Lamar, so that's why those 2 guys, I'd like to get them up to at least 8%. It's kind of hard at quarterback just because, like, I made a big push for Herbert because I had him at like 2%. I've gotten him a bunch lately, so I pulled him up to 7, but QB is difficult. It's difficult to manage your percentages because, like, it's rarely your decision on quarterbacks. it's kind of like how the draft board goes and what quarterbacks the draft board gives you that you end up with. I really like Mark Andrews near the end of round 2 right now, where you can go with like Andrews and Lamar in round 4 and still get Bateman in round 5. If you try to take Andrews in like early 2, then you end up picking Lamar early 4, then you're usually missing Bateman in 5. So I much prefer Andrews when I'm picking at the other end of the board to start. Not that I'm stacking Andrews every single time or anything like that, but like I always want it available, I guess, when I have him. I would like to at least have it be an option, where it seems like at the other end of the board it's really not an option. I think Mahomes is just like a very, very bad pick at ADP, so we'd have to see what happens there. My phone is absolutely exploding. So not too much in the news other than Deshaun Watson really sounding like he's going to only get 6 to 8 games or something like that. So still have it fresh in my mind that I want more Deshaun Watson during this window. Still on trying to get Kamara in this window, where those guys might be way, way cheaper than they're going to be in 2-3 weeks. If the Kamara trial gets pushed into mid-season, then he's going to shoot up the boards because he's probably not going to get suspended until next year. And with the way things could break for, that sucks. I'd really like to take Kyle Pitts, but I'm not going to take Kyle Pitts on this Kelsey team. Probably going to take Judy with my second pick, so I'm definitely willing to risk losing Judy to the turn, because I would. Here I'm looking at either DJ Moore, I think, or Kamara. There's also Connor, who I want ownership on, but Connor's not going to like move up, right? Like no matter what happens, Connor's probably like sticking about where he is. So let's take Kamara. So a lot of my Kamaras, I'm trying to kind of get Hurts and some sort of Hurt stack with. So we might have the option next go round of taking like Hurts plus Devonta Smith or something like that for the week 17 correlation. Obviously, that sort of gets in the way of Russell Wilson, so I kind of need to think about that a little bit. If this guy doesn't take James Conner, I could take James Conner and go with like a dual RB instead of going with Jerry Jeudy. This would definitely be a unique start for me, so let's try it out. So I'm gonna like toss the Russ Wilson plan aside, I think. Go for something a little different. So it's gonna be a dual RB team. Probably be 5 running backs, and we probably won't take another running back for quite a good bit. Interesting team here. There's no way in hell I have a Kamara Connor team, because those are two guys I just don't have much of at all anyway. I have like 6% Connor and 4% Kamara or something. So we'll see how this works out. Kind of sucks to waste like a Kelsey where I'm like not trying to get Russell Wilson when that's one of my goals, but wanted to get this Kamara Connor. It's not the easiest to get, and especially because like this may be the window to get it, right? So if like Kamara moves up a good bit, it might just not be a combo you can get without taking Kamara round 2 and Connor round 3. So So it could be fairly like unique as far as this might be like a window of a couple weeks where this combo is even possible to attain without some huge ADP anarchy happening. We could keep in Patrick Mahomes as like an option. I just hate the value on Mahomes. I think it's just too expensive. I don't really like the value on Herbert either, but I have more Herbert now than I do Mahomes. I have 5% Mahomes, 4% Mahomes, and 7% Herbert. So Mahomes fell all the way back to us. It would be a consideration. I'd rather kind of just attack wide receiver though, or maybe even like I said with the Jalen Hurts thing with Devonta Smith, and then maybe try to pick up. Probably wouldn't do Goddard on this team just because we have Kelsey. So it would probably just be Hurts and Devonta Smith, but that's fine. But we'll see what options are available. It gets to us. Somebody's getting pretty good value on Waller. Brandon Cooks is such a hideous pick for me in round 5. He's like a safe pick. It's like not like you're gonna like lose a bunch picking him there, but you're also like not winning much picking him there. Almond Ra, huh? I guess the other option, if we don't want to do dual RB, is if we see some like crazy value on a running back we actually want, we could turn this into a hyper fragile team. That could be interesting. We at least have an elite tight end. Like one of the things when I go hyper fragile is like I want to make sure I have either an elite tight end or an elite quarterback. Sometimes both, but I like to at least have one of them, so that you can really like pour your resources into wide receiver. I'm not super interested in pairing Kyler with Connor. Just probably won't do that. Depending what the wide receivers look like, I might try to do the Hurts Devonta Smith thing. Obviously, like I'm probably not going to pass Bateman, and I'm interested in Mahomes if he was to make it to us, but it doesn't feel super likely. Although there's only 2 more picks before us. So right now I'm looking at like Bateman, Hurts, and Mahomes basically. Okay, Mahomes goes. That's dead. So now I'm between like Bateman and Hurts. Not a ton of interest in any of these running backs. I have 0 J.K. Dobbins, but it's just so hard to take him. He's in a grouping of players that I just like. I'm just taking Bateman. So we're gonna abort the Hurts plan at quarterback. So with quarterbacks, I always try to like leave some breadcrumbs to like, because quarterback is just so difficult. People just take them so far ahead of ADP sometimes, and it can be rough. I think I definitely wish I would have taken Judy now, but oh well. So I don't mind having a Kamara team without Hurts here because like almost every single one of my Kamara teams has Hurts. Going with a hyper fragile build is starting to look kind of appealing. Maybe this is where I finally take a Dobbins share. I don't mind David Montgomery either. Glad I didn't try to do the Hurts thing. That would have been fucking painful. Don't love the wide receivers on the board. Drake London does kind of go with Connor. Alright. Let's do that. Instead of doing the hyper fragile build. That's like Drake London way above ADP, but I think he's like just undervalued pick anyway, so it's fine. It's pretty much between like London and Dobbins there. Guess we could look at maybe having Carr on this team since we have Adams. Carr is like not a guy that I really draft a lot of. Don't think like we'll get a chance for like Trey Lance and Ayuk. That seems pretty unlikely that Lance would make it back to us. So got a pretty big reach there on Drake London, but he was definitely just the wide receiver I liked the most there. And he also correlated with James Conner, so that was like part of it as well. So I don't think I'll have much Eagles correlation for Alvin Kamara. Maybe we'll end up with Gainwell or something like that. Or what's his face? The deep threat guy. Wow. Quez Watkins. My brain completely forgot he existed. Some pretty decent reports on Michael Thomas coming out that he's looking much, much better. So there's that. Kind of look for a Pittsburgh guy to come back with Bateman, maybe get a Claypool or Pickens. Pickens is one of my like favorite picks at ADP right now, regardless. So this guy got very good value on Hurts. Oh, that's brutal. Even though I got very good value on Hurts, I think his team is looking kind of rough to like win the whole thing just because of correlations. Like, I mean, obviously it's a really good team, but now it's like really tough for him to take Stafford when he's got the double stack because Hurts and Stafford both have the same bye week. It's just kind of rough. Could just take a zero there, especially since he has Mark Andrews. So, like, when you are taking a zero at a position like quarterback, quarterback's the worst one to take a zero at because it's the highest on average scoring position. But when you're going to take a zero at quarterback, you really need like to be really strong at tight end because you can't be like losing a week at quarterback and also just generally losing at tight end. Put you in the torture chamber. We could go for some sort of late QB shenanigans, maybe like 3 QBs with Watson and pick up some late Watson guys. Like Njoku goes really late. Pair up nice with Kelsey. So we could keep that in mind. Trey Lance was to be there when we pick. That's who I'm going to take, but I don't think he will be. Try to get Lance and Ayuk and probably not get Ayuk and whatever. Such is life if that were to happen, but I would probably go for it. Go 0 RB team here. Chase, Samuel, Hollywood, McLaurin, Thielen, and Kittle. I like that team quite a bit. Drafted a 0 RB team in my last draft that I liked quite a bit. My first running back I took was Penny, and then I got Stevenson, a few other interesting characters. The person behind us has a quarterback, so if we want to, we could take Ayuk before Lance if both are there when we pick. That would be like pretty risky, but I'm in for pretty risky. We'll see if either of them are even on the board when we pick. Like, how bad would it be for that guy to take Lance? It seems like it would be very, very bad for him to take Lance. Not very bad for him to take Ayuk. This person will probably take Lance and just solve our problem for us. He does. So do we want to take Ayuk so we still have that correlation with Devontae Adams anyway? I think he is. Let's do that. Don't mind Pollard or CEH, but I think I'd rather wait still on another running back since we want the dual RB. Do we want to like jump up and take Carr here? Not really. Brady's a decent value pick, but I don't really want anything to do with him when I have no stack options. Like, there's just no option. There's no way that Brady can be good without like needing his stack options to win the tournament because he doesn't run at all. So I don't want anything to do with naked Brady. I just went with Kadarius Toney there. So Daniel Jones is one of like the higher end late options as far as like ceilings go for quarterback. So since I was choosing to pass on Carr, I figured I'd go with Toney. I would take Carr if he like fell to our next pick, but it seems like 0% to happen. So like the Waller person or the Renfro person, we'll just take him. A lot of good values on quarterbacks in this draft. We've just been right on the outside of where it made sense for us, which is unfortunate. So since Gainwell and Kamara both catch passes, that's definitely a possible like correlation situation. Because like if one team kind of wrecks the other in week 17, the other guy is probably catching extra passes, so it's not the worst. This is a pretty cool team. I don't really can't think of too many times I've drafted a team that looks too much like this. This could be a team where we take a shot on Ritter in a 3 QB build, but we'll have to see who our other QBs are. I don't really like pairing Ritter like and Watson on the same team, for example. But if I have, like Daniel Jones and someone in Ritter, then it's cool. Would love to get Carr, but I know how I run with quarterbacks, and I'm not getting Carr. Can't wait to see how much Matt Stafford falls because he's like really good, but there's really only one person that should want him. Yeah, he did go to this cup, Allen. This is the problem with taking the naked Hurts to me. I think this team is like, it's just, I don't know. It's not terrible or anything, but like, are you just going to take a 0 at quarterback? Then that's fine. But I guess his other positions are all at least strong, like wide receiver strong, but this is a little thin, only having 3 wide receivers at this point. So in theory, we should only have this guy that's interested in Carr left, but you know how those theories go. Every time you think someone's not going to take my quarterback, they absolutely do take your quarterback. Could go with Rodgers, and I think Rodgers will make it to us. I don't think Carr will. So we could go with Rodgers and like Christian Watson. That's an option. Don't love it since we have no Vikings, but oh, could I not get sniped on a quarterback once? Is that even a possible thing? It's not. I could send Carr to the turn because like this person shouldn't really want Carr, but I'm not gonna do that. Just because like I don't really care. This next grouping of players, I don't even know who I freaking want that much. So wide receiver looks like pretty rancid. There is like Galladay, so we could set up like a Daniel Jones double stack. I think that their running backs are just like much better players at this point. Very good value on Dawson Knox and Goddard right now. We could take this like kind of like modified bully tight end by taking Goddard and have Goddard as a comeback for Kamara. So I'm just going to do that. just like 12 picks after ADP Goddard is cool, and we can just take tight end off now. So I almost never take a tight end that good when I have Kelsey. But if you were just to call Goddard like a wide receiver that could only get in the flex, it's probably not a terrible pick at that point. So this is a pretty rare Kelsey and another good tight end for me. But to be honest, if I didn't have Alvin Kamara and I wasn't looking for like some semblance of correlation for that game, I might not have made that pick. But we have made that pick, so we'll see how it works out. I did like the RBs on the board quite a bit, but I felt like I was probably also going to like the RBs the next round. So that's kind of why I didn't go with a running back. Gainwell is still someone we could consider. It was very nice to get like Carr to go with Devontae Adams there. Probably won't bother pairing any more Raiders. The only one really left is Demarcus Robinson. I might take him in round 18 if there's like nothing else interesting, but kind of doubt it. I still think I'd kind of lean to a 3 QB build. I'd like to kind of get Daniel Jones if I can. Go with like Carr, Daniel Jones, and then Ritter in the last round if Ritter's available. Or Ritter in round 17 or 18. Because we have, Ritter, London, and Connor would be a nice little mini game stack. As far as comebacks for a Daniel Jones stack, there really isn't a ton. There's Alec Pierce, Naheem Hines, Paris Campbell. Nothing that super excites me between those players. Daniel Jones might be like kind of hard for us to end up with just because of where we are on the board. Like, might have to take him with one of these 2 picks, which would be pretty thoroughly disgusting. Kind of trying to figure out what other options I may have. Running backs are starting to fly off the board. I really like Ronald Jones, especially in half PPR. I'm in on Rashad White. Damian Pierce, I'm not that in on, but I don't mind him. He's like fine. Henderson, I like. Carter, I like. TDP, I like. Algier is kind of whatever. He could sort of end up in part of the game stack. Gainwell, I like. So I don't mind Darrell Williams or Eno. I like both of them. I think that there's definitely a world where both Darrell Williams and Eno can pay off. So you probably be like, how the hell can that happen? So like they're both going like pretty late, right? And it's Eno especially is going around 18. So let's say Eno just has Chase Edmonds' role from last year. Like that's worth around 18 pick. Now let's say Darrell Williams is actually the handcuff to James Conner. So then he's worth his like 16 pick, even if Eno is staying in the Edmonds role. So like I think both guys can like pay off. Seeing Rashad White and Ronald Jones both go ahead of us is pretty yucky. There's definitely a thing I'm going to do if it's available, but I don't want to speak of it because you know how that goes. The moment you speak of something, it gets ripped away from you. Fuck. Really wanted Galladay. That sucks. So I'm probably going to take Dotson or Pierce. Let's take Dotson. Really not that big a fan of Pierce, but Could just take Daryl Williams. Daryl Henderson. Okay, I'll take Pierce. Pierce is kind of nice to go with Alvin Kamara because like Pierce probably is going to have a decent amount of early season ability because I think Pierce will probably end up the 1A for Houston. So like say Kamara gets like a 2-game suspension or something like that, which doesn't seem super likely. It seems like it'd be a bit longer, but you never know with these things. Let's say Kamara got like a 2 or a 4-game suspension. There's a chance that like Pierce Connor could like kind of get you through a 2 to 4-game Kamara suspension. So obviously, we're not going to be taking Daryl Williams or on this team with James Conner, but I just thought I'd mention them. Deshaun Watson going in round 12 is absolutely ridiculous. Just don't do this. Don't do this, people. Like, I understand, like, everyone's trying to get ownership on Deshaun Watson right now before the hammer falls on the suspension and he probably flies up the board. But if you're paying 6 rounds above his ADP prices for him, you're not gaining anything by doing so, or at least not gaining much. I think, like if you want to take him 2 rounds ahead of ADP, that's something. Like, all right, go nuts. Like, I've done that before plenty of times, but I'm not taking him 4 rounds above ADP. If somebody else wants him that much more, then so be it. So if we don't get Daniel Jones, QB is going to get interesting for us. So kind of have a lot of eggs in that basket. Someone else just took Njoku, 20 picks above ADP, and did not have Watson. They also passed on Akua Boonham when they had Russell Wilson. Guess they had Sutton and Tim Patrick, so this is why you don't take Tim Patrick 20 picks ahead of ADP. It's like you could have just got Akua Boonham here and instead of making another bad pick because you didn't want to pick 3 people from Denver. So far, my reaches are just Drake London, really. Dotson a little bit, but I like Dotson a lot. I just have him tiered above where his like ADP tier would fall. So I don't mind TDP. I don't mind Michael Carter, but Daniel Jones is priority for me. The guy behind us has 2 QBs now, so like I might send Daniel Jones to the turn and risk losing him this time. All right, we don't need tight end even lit up. I like having it lit up sometimes just to like, see what the board's looking like, but we're not going to take a tight end here. I'm in on Carter, TDP, and Gainwell. So the only quarterback I'm really interested in right now is Daniel Jones. I hope Vinny D. Oh, he fucking took Galladay last round. Fuck, he's definitely taking Daniel Jones. This is the guy that sniped us on Galladay. I forgot about that. We're getting wrecked with this pick. We are getting wrecked. Oh, thank God he took Jameis Winston. That's so lucky. I'm just going to take Daniel Jones because I don't care about which one of these running backs I get that much. I like TDP. I like Gainwell. I guess if both goes, then that's kind of gross. But I don't know. It seems unlikely this guy's taking 2 running backs. So we have TDP with the Carr Adams correlation, and we've got Gainwell with Kamara, which is a little weak. So of the 2, I guess I'd rather have TDP. But I'll take whichever one I can get. We're going to pass on the Alec Pierce correlation, I think, here. Yeah, let's just take TDP. Pretty interesting team. This definitely doesn't look like any other team that I've had. I think round 17, I'm going to save a QB pick for. So Let's figure out what this build is going to be. We could definitely go 5 running backs. Almost always when I go dual running back, I go with 5. So you're basically like counting on things working out for your top 2 guys and then kind of one hit from the other 3. So 5, 3, 8, 2. Yeah. So we got 2 wide receiver picks left, a running back and a quarterback. As far as quarterback goes, I'd like to get Ritter. As far as running back goes, I would like to get Sony Michel. That is my dude. I think he's extremely undervalued. Doesn't really correlate with anything we've got going on. But didn't end up with any correlations for Kelsey, which kind of sucks. The Denver guys are just tend to be expensive. Guess there could get KJ Hamler still if we really want to. Would love to get Alec Pierce or George Pickens. I think that we're 0% to get either of them. Julio's a pick I like quite a bit. He's plus 350 to go to Green Bay right now as far as Vegas odds, and obviously he would like fly up the boards if he goes to Green Bay. Should probably be drafting a couple of Rodgers teams with Julio, but I haven't really done that yet. So right now, George Pickens is by far the player on the board I like the most. It's not even really a second place. So how greedy do we want to get with Sony? Do we want to try to get Sony and Ritter with our last 2 picks? We could do that. If we get screwed on Sony, that's fine. I mean, I have like 40% Sony, so it's not the end of the world. On the other hand, if we just like hate all these other picks, then I'm probably just going to take Sony. It's also the option of we could go with Wentz instead of Ritter. Of Dotson. I'd rather go with Ritter because of our game stack with having James Conner. But I'm not going to take Ritter before round 17. As Pickens goes, so we're just kind of in hideous land as far as running or wide receivers go. I like Julio. Whoops. We could go with Hamler to have this like correlation with. I don't really care about that much. I just really don't love Hamler as a pick. Take Julio. Now consider between Hamler and Wandell. John Mechie. Probably get John Mechie next round if I wanted him. So if that's the case, maybe I'll just take Sony. Like to me, John Mechie and Wandell are kind of like similar bets. Yeah, we'll just take Sony and figure out a wide receiver to take next round. So I'm fine taking Sony pretty far ahead of ADP. We have 2 picks left. We want one to be Ritter and one to be a wide receiver. So let's just kind of queue up some wide receivers that I have interest in. These guys are pretty far ahead of the rest of this group. Put Hamler in there. Let's see if I can't see. I'm not going to take any more of those. So kind of looking at trying to get 2 people out of this group. Definitely should have taken Wendell there. Forgot I had Daniel Jones. That was a pretty big error on my part. Pretty big error on my part. There is another option, though, that I don't take much, that I still kind of like. I have a billion Wandell teams, but I don't have any Darius Slayton teams since the big board, so I think if just one of like Galladay or Tony were to get hurt, that Slayton will end up being on the outside there, and he could be pretty good. There were like rumors of him like pretty much getting cut at one point, so I don't think Sony would have made it back to us, and with how much I like Sony, I can't like be too mad about that pick. Though yeah, if I realized I had Daniel Jones just brain farted, I would have taken Wendell. Slayton's also a guy that's like shown some like big game ability, like spike week ability. So maybe we'll play it. If Wendell goes, we'll play it with Slayton. Kind of hope Galladay is the one who gets hurt, and roll things that way. So if we're gonna go with Slayton, we can definitely take Ritter first because there's no way in hell anyone else is taking Slayton. He just doesn't even get drafted in these. Not that I think this guy will take Ritter, but of the two, I think there's a higher percentage he takes Ritter than Slayton. Yeah, so this is kind of cool. I have a ton of Daniel Jones, like 15%. And like I said, I do have Daniel Jones with Slayton, but I don't in the Best Ball Mania. It's all from like pre NFL draft before Wandell went to the Giants. So this team will be pretty cool. Hopefully, Julio ends up on the Packers, obviously. Drake, yucky. That's not a player I want any part of. So let's do this. So we end up with Carr, Jones, and Ritter, suspect, but some upside. Kamara Connor, which I definitely have done 0 times, and might not even be available in the future, at least not a few weeks from now. So that's cool. Got Damian Pierce. Me. TDP I like quite a bit. Sony I love at cost. So running back group is like obviously completely dependent on how those top two work out. That's pretty much how dual RB builds work. Then wide receiver looks pretty strong with Adams, Bateman, London, Ayuk, Tony, Dotson, Julio, and Slayton. And tight end is obviously an A plus with Kelsey, plus another decent tight end that we got to value. So that'll do it for this one. Thanks for watching, and good luck in your drafts, folks.